Good evening again, YouTube. It's your guy J Crew to you, coming at you with another video on this lovely Memorial Day weekend 2021. And I want to come at you again to get my thoughts on a story that I came across this past weekend. And what I'm going to be talking about is, football, and in particular, football in terms of its amateur status in on the grade school level. Even more so, or should I say, more matter of fact, I'm gonna talk about this young kid by the name of Justus Terry, and the reason that any story is being done on him at all is simply for the fact that he's big for his age, and he's getting the eighth grade, getting ready to start ninth grade here for here in a Georgia for a Georgia high school football team, and his size and his early development is really the reason that he's getting a lot of traction on social media. We've seen this before. When you see a guy who comes along, a young kid who is well developed for his age, he tends to just kind of dominate the competition, mainly based off his size and maybe in some skill that comes along with it. We've seen that with LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Jadavion Clowney, and so we've seen it with a few athletes before. But my thoughts whenever I see something like this, it kind of goes two different ways. Number one is that dang, that's a big old dude. You know what I'm saying? If he's in eighth grade, it's like wow, that he is very well developed for his age. That's incredible. And I'm like, wow, he's probably gonna make a killing on the high school level. But the thing about it is that I just used the word probably, and we don't know what his production is going to look like at all. He hasn't started playing high school yet, from what we know, and that kind of weirds me out in the way with some of these prospects, and not only the prospects, but with these recruiting services and internet folks who kind of boost these young kids up, because these guys could turn out to be, monsters, just like the individuals I just mentioned, or this young man could turn out to be just like him. A guy who just kind of meant to do what he does, to be a professional athlete. But I come at it also from the perspective of, maybe they should be given some room to breathe, as kids, because I think we heap our own expectations onto individuals like Justice Terry. If we see somebody who looks like they're just that much bigger, we just assume they're going to be good. But we haven't really seen them sort of develop yet. And I'm not talking about just physically, but just psychologically. And the psychological part tends to get not considered when you see these young men sort of come along through high school. And although I want Justice Terry to exceed to accomplish what he's trying to get to. I would like to see him succeed. I also want people to be conscious that he's just a young kid and he's trying to make his way in the world, not just on the gridiron. He's trying to mature socially as well as physically. And so, you don't want somebody to grow up too fast based upon your own expectations of them. I think that's very unfair. And I don't think that should be done at all. And I think that's one of the negative aspects of social media is that, we like to build people up before we really have a chance to see what they can do, on a competitive level. As I said before, he really just getting this traction because he's big, because he's reportedly 6'5", 250 or 260 pounds, which is huge for eighth grade, but it doesn't mean he's going to do anything on a high school level. And as I said, I mentioned a few athletes before, but somebody more recently, in addition to Jadavion Clowney on the football field, was another guy by the name of Dylan Moses, who just graduated from the University of Alabama as a linebacker. And I think he signed on as a free agent with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dylan Moses was a guy I remember reading about for the first time in ESPN, the magazine, several years ago. And he was in eighth grade as well. I think back then, from what I remember in this article, he was 6'1", 215, 6'1", and 215 pounds. And when I read that, I said, well, he's well developed, but we haven't seen him do anything yet. It turns out that Dylan, was a high school All-American. He went to the University of Alabama. Well, in my own estimation, he was just maybe good at times. He wasn't great throughout his career, but he was just good. As I said, Dylan just got drafted. He just got signed by the Jacksonville Jaguars after the 2021 draft concluded, and I think he signed as a free agent. So he really didn't go as a first round pick. So I know he got hurt too. Dylan busted up his knee. I think he tore an ACL in college when he was at Alabama, and so that was part of him probably not being able to live up to his potential. And so, he turned out to be just an okay football player for the Crimson Tide. And he was supposed to be like a monster, according to most people who was on the internet. That's what this guy was supposed to be, but he wasn't. Fortunately, he turned out good. There have been a lot of people, a lot of athletes rather, who have probably had that expectation heaped upon them, and they haven't really turned out to do anything on the collegiate level when upon their arrival. So I just want people to be conscious of this, like, wow, it is sort of like awesome to see somebody who's big for their age. Just let this young man, Justus Terry, who's based out of Manchester, Georgia, who's just going to start playing high school, let him be a child. I don't think social media needs to build him up yet. Because I read on one of these headlines, like if you Googled his name, which is how I came across him, after I kind of accidentally clicked on an article about him. Well, social media clip goes viral of eighth grader getting ready to start high school. He's a monster for his age. And I'm like, I don't think we should be heaping those expectations on him that soon. Let him grow and let him become, a young man at his own pace. Because if you don't, it could end up being a disaster. I'm sure everybody's known somebody who's had like an electric amount of talent as a young person, but maybe because they had so many expectations heaped upon them by people who don't know them, maybe they've ended up, just falling short. And they may have just turned out to be, something negative rather than something positive. Either way, I hope Justus Terry does very well. I hope he, succeeds, and he's not just a social media phenom just because of his look. But I hope that he has athletic talent that can translate to the gridiron. She got J. Crew to you. Signing off on my second video for Memorial Day weekend 2021. Hit the like button if you like the content. Thank you.